What if we told you that sound can actually change your biology? That it can increase or decrease your hormones, change your breathing or heart rate, that it can move you towards an action or compel you to come to a complete standstill.
Sound is that powerful. It can make you feel relaxed, or worried, or sad, or happy, or even a little embarrassed. But it's actually even more powerful than that. Did you know that hearing a baby cry increases levels of oxytocin? Oxytocin is a chemical in our bodies that improves feelings of connection and love. And why is that important? Well, oxytocin is the reason why most parents will continue to get up to care for a screaming baby over and over and over, all through the night, instead of hightailing it out of there and taking a permanent vacation.
But not all of the impacts of sound are so positive. In one study, they discovered that chronic loud noise would change the brain chemistry of a developing child, and this had long-term lasting effects on their health.
So how do we remedy this powerful impact of sound with something even more powerful? Silence.
Wow, that felt like forever, didn't it? And that was only 30 seconds. And to think we were going to make you all sit there for 60, so aren't you lucky? But how did that make you feel? Were you as uncomfortable as we were?
I was really uncomfortable. Sound impacts your breathing and your heart rate, and consequently can increase your cortisol levels. So even somebody who's not naturally anxious can be more anxious when we tip the scales to the sympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for our fight and flight response. Our bodies react as if they're being chased by a giant grizzly bear.
In contrast, silence tips those scales back to the parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest responses. And this is where relaxation occurs. And in fact, the idea for this TED Talk came to me while I was preparing to teach a meditation class. And I was packing up my Tibetan singing bowl into my bag, and it just struck me how we use both silence and sound to impact the way we think, the way we feel, and the way we behave, and how we can intentionally use specific sounds and silence to move deeper and deeper into states of peace and tranquility.
Whether we notice it or not, sound is constant in our lives. Our ears are full. So full, in fact, that researchers coined the term noise pollution as early as the 1960s, when they began to study the negative impact that 24-hour noise, chronic sound, has on your overall well-being. And it's not good.
Not good at all. In 2011, the World Health Organization deemed noise pollution a modern plague. And they went on to identify 7 adverse health effects. Among them were increased rates of high blood pressure, increased cardiovascular disease, and even cognitive impairment in children. Think about that. That got us thinking. And we really thought that anxiety should be added to this list. As psychologists, we were seeing elevated levels of anxiety in our practices and around us, and we began to think that it was highly correlated with the amount of sound in our environment. In 2014, the National Institute of Health estimated that 1 out of 3 people in the U.S. will experience an anxiety disorder in their lifetime. Look around you. 1 out of 3 of you. That's a lot. And wait, it gets even better than that. The average age of onset is only 11 years old. 11.
That's really young. So one theory is that anxious people are more hypersensitive to sound, but we think it's the other way around, and that the constant barrage of noise in our environment is what can actually create anxiety. So even if you aren't naturally anxious, you may find yourself more revved up, on edge, irritable, just by the noise in your environment.
This is the sound of the refrigerator running. So just one of the very many sounds in our environment that is constant and outside of our control. Have you ever had that experience of going from noise to silence? Noise that you weren't even aware of until it was gone.
Take an office environment, for example. We have these sound machines in our office. Being psychologists, we use white noise for privacy and to make sure that nobody can hear what's going on behind the door. Well, in addition to that, we have loud music playing overhead. In addition to that, of course, we have the voices of everybody in the office talking to each other through the doors, through the walls.
So at the end of the night, when the talking is finally over, thank goodness, and we start to close up the office, we shut off those machines and the music overhead, and it's as if peace and stillness are restored. For myself, it's like taking a deep breath at the edge of the ocean. Serenity, and all from the removal of sound.
When you take control of sound, you take control of your physiological responses, your stress responses. And in return, you can impact your thoughts, your behavior, your mind, everything. What we propose is that everybody is in need of a sound vacation. That if you want to increase your overall well-being, decrease anxiety, you need to eliminate, or at least try to reduce some of the noise that is constantly around us.
And you know the best part about that, Kristin?
Tell me.
Science backs us up.
Sure does.
So you see, your brain is actually more active in silence, okay? And now bear with me. I know that sounds contradictory to what we've been saying, but in one study, they showed that just having 2 hours of silence a day increased cellular growth in the brain. That's the kind of activity I'm talking about. And what's better yet is it occurs in the brain structure known as the hippocampus, which is responsible for learning, memory, and emotion. So just by being in silence, you can learn more, remember more, and modulate your emotions better. That is pretty cool.
That is really cool and has very practical, real-life applications. Take college students, for example. Suppose you have a test to study for or a presentation to give. You might like to know that silence after studying, even a little bit, will help your brain with consolidation and recall of that information. So here's to an easy A.
But whether you're a college student or not, we believe that everyone should practice the art of taking a sound vacation. And we're sure there are dozens of ways to do this, but we have 3 ideas for you.
First, try the complete absence of noise. Noise-canceling headphones, earplugs, and if that's not possible, just try to have a silent breakfast. Sitting in silence, no talking, no phone, no music, just eating your breakfast.
Pretty radical, huh? Or how about getting out into nature? Unplugging from your iPhones, your iPads, anything with an I, and your music, and getting out into nature. Tuning in to the sounds of nature, the wind rustling through the trees, water trickling down a stream, or maybe if you're lucky, the random chipmunk or squirrel scurrying about.
And if that's not possible, just tune in to the noise around us, because it's everywhere, and it's 24 hours a day. and be mindful of how that sound impacts you. Consciously choose the sounds that give you the experience that you're looking for. So if you are looking to rest and relax, choose the sounds that make you feel that way.
You see, sound is really powerful. But in today's day, with so much of it whirling around us all of the time, silence is even more powerful.
Even if it makes us very uncomfortable.
Even if.
Thank you.
Thank you.